I was checking out Charlie Kirk's content the other day.
Hell yeah, brother.
He had some interesting statements.
Of course. You'd think he said something racist or disgusting or insane.
Education should focus on teaching students how to think, not what to think.
Amen, brother.
I go around to universities and have challenging conversations, because that is what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully. Because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
100% facts.
We must fight for intellectual diversity on college campuses and restore the marketplace of ideas.
Right on.
Greatness requires the liberty and the drive to make the most of yourself.
Preach.
Freedom is not a gift bestowed on us by other men, but a right that belongs to us by the laws of God and nature.
Preach it, preacher.
No one really cares when it's HR managers. No one cared when it was just paper shufflers or even engineers. But now it's like, wait, hold on a second. You're gonna remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian?
Out of context. That's never heard propaganda. He was a good father. There's a perfectly rational explanation for that.
If I see a black pilot, I'm gonna be like, boy, I hope he's
Alright, I'm
qualified.
gonna hit the pause button right there. Listen, Charlie was saying that DEI lowers the qualifications and sets
Yeah,
quotas
that's a lie. There is no evidence that the FAA or any airliners ever lowered the minimum requirements for pilots of any demographic flying commercial aircraft.
Well, I bet he already knew that, and he probably addressed it in the full video. So you're still taking it all out of context. The context
You're
will
just
definitely
cherry
make it sound
picking
better.
his words,
Out of the can.
Wow.
You have to watch the...
80% of blacks don't grow up with the father.
Amen, brother.
Okay, you're not wondering about the context or me putting a
Nope.
spin on... If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racist. They do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. They had to go steal a white person's slot to be taken somewhat seriously.
You took it out of context. Propaganda.
Well, I certainly paraphrase that quote, but let's talk about the context. Kirk here is nitpicking 4 black women who are well-credentialed in their respective fields to go on yet another baseless rant about affirmative action. He then went even further than most would and said that they had to steal a white person's slot.
No, that's not it. It was about getting the best person for the job.
That's literally not what he said. He didn't say they stole a better qualified person's slot. He said that they stole a white person's slot.
No,
so not
that's...
only are these women, who all just so happen to be black, stealing something, they're stealing something from white people, specifically.
Nah, that's...
His words.
No, that's wrong. You're not a Republican. You wouldn't understand this kind of thing.
You're
just
to
watch
the
full video. Context will make that totally
making
not
that
say that.
Economic opportunities should be available to every American willing to work for it.
100% facts.
Martin Luther King was a hero.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Martin Luther King was awful. He was not a good person.
What the... Can you repeat that? That can't be right.
Martin Luther King was a hero.
Right, and?
Martin Luther King was awful. He was not a good person.
So the first part where it makes him sound good, yeah, that sounds good to me. But the other part where it makes him sound bad, you totally took that out of context! There's a perfectly rational explanation for that. Context will definitely make it sound better. You're making that...
Okay, how should we tell... How can you tell us something's taken out of context?
That's easy. If it sounds egregiously racist, intentionally misleading, insanely evil, incredibly contradicting, totally out of touch, and completely devoid of respect or empathy for others, and it makes my political party look bad, it's been taken out of context. Otherwise, I could care less about context or factual accuracy. I'll sooner admit to having a Grindr account than doing even the most simple fact-checking of the things I believe.
Wow, okay. Now, hear me out on this. I think that if something sounds egregiously racist, intentionally misleading, insanely evil, incredibly contradicting, totally out of touch, and completely devoid of respect or empathy for others, then maybe, just maybe, it actually is egregiously racist, intentionally misleading, insanely evil, incredibly contradicting, totally out of touch, and completely devoid of respect or empathy for others, regardless of where you stand on the topic.
What? That sounds like communist, Marxist, socialist, anti-hierarchical, nihilist, progressive, woke, moralist nonsense. We're talking about somebody who's on par with Martin Luther King right now. I might even start regurgitating slander about Martin Luther King to make him look worse than my white supremacist Jesus figure. I could probably get some black to do it with me too, though.
Party of truth and accountability. Well, what about this quote? My children are going to grow up in the jungle being a racial jungle with tensions built so high that it's going to explode at some point.
Black context that out of context.
Oh, sorry, that was a quote from Joe Biden.
Wait a minute. That's racist and divisive. We tried to tell you about the Democrats. Typical Democrat. That's reprehensible.
Yeah, man, that's crazy, right? Now, listen to this one. All the time in urban America, prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people. That's a fact.
Listen to how racist and divisive
They
he
even
is.
have
Way
evidence
more
that
Democrats are talking like the
were
racist. Who
Big
takes that guy seriously?
By the way, that was a quote from Charlie Kirk.
You totally took that out of context.
You're just
That's
cherry-picking.
propaganda.
Watch the full video.
Anyone wouldn't say that.
That's very interesting. Well, what about the time that Charlie Kirk said that black men are going around killing over 600 white women every year?
You're taking that out of context.
Of course. And the time that he insinuated that it's Martin Luther King's fault for racism in America.
That's
propaganda.
Right. And spreading lies about the death of George Floyd.
There's a perfectly rational explanation for that.
Kirk making excuses for someone who murdered a mentally ill homeless guy.
They're making that. Wouldn't say that. Propaganda.
Saying that civil rights is a weapon against whites.
You're taking out of context.
Asking for someone to bail out a criminal for attacking an old man with a hammer.
There's a perfect out of context.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens. No one really cares when it's HR managers. No one cared when it was, just kind of paper shufflers or even engineers. But now when it's like, wait, hold on a second. Yeah. You're gonna remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian. I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm gonna be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
What percentage of blacks have a father around when they're raised?
I'm not sure.
20%.
So
80% of blacks do not have a stable father around. If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more. We're gonna okay, I'm gonna say it. More than 600 white women a year are murdered by black men. 600 white women a year. Did you know that? By blacks. So 600 white women are murdered by blacks a year. One just happened, was a Hispanic. He might have been half black, doesn't really matter.
The counter is the reason we talk about race so much is because we have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time.
Trying to get the officer who murdered George Floyd pardoned, and I just want to know what your reasoning was about that.
Well, George Floyd didn't die because of the police officer. He died largely because of a drug overdose. Which, of course, we now see a pattern of blacks prowling the streets going to go harass whites. It's happening in Chicago, happens all the time. And they feel as if they're untouchable, right? Look what happened in New York City at the subway. A black schizophrenic homeless person starts threatening people, saying, I'm gonna go back to jail, and a white good Samaritan holds him in a chokehold. Tragically, the black guy dies, not a result anybody wanted. And who gets in trouble? The good Samaritan chokehold guy. And the Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon.
And we've seen this cancer metastasize. What started as a good intention to try to eradicate the injustices of saying that, only whites can eat at the restaurant has tragically metamorphosized into a beast that has even more hatred than some of the elements of the antebellum South.
Republicans reject any link between GOP rhetoric and Paul Pelosi assault. Of course you should reject any link. Why is the Republican Party, why is the conservative movement to blame for gay schizophrenic nudists that are hemp jewelry makers breaking into somebody's home, or maybe not breaking into somebody's home? Why are we to blame for that exactly? And why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like 30 or 40,000 bucks. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions. That's exactly what they're doing with the name Karen. Exactly what they're doing. They are mislabeling an entire racial group
for something they did not do to try to create a prejudice. Could you imagine?